Hello and welcome to Cool Nerds Unite. I'm Roderick.
I'm Amber Marie.
We're completely ecstatic and excited. We have a special friend and guest. Mr. Arvell Jones is in the building. So, Arvell, bring us up to speed. What's been going on since the last time we talked?
Oh, I guess I've been touring around the country, going to various conventions, meeting people, and, talking up a storm. The question I'm asked all the time is, how do you feel about the cancellation of Luke Cage?
Yeah, no one was going to ask that question. We weren't going to ask that question.
Right?
How
an Iron Fist.
Who would think to ask? I mean, come on. I'm not ripping up paper or crossing off notes or anything like that. Yeah, why would they ask?
Well,
me
how
that?
do you feel about it?
Well, yeah, since you brought it up, not that we had that on standby or anything.
Right.
Okay.
So how do you feel about that?
Well, I think they were just starting to get in their groove. The second season of Luke Cage, I think, was a more polished presentation.
I agree.
The story was cleaner.
Yeah.
They seemed like they fixed their pacing problem.
I definitely agree.
Yes.
My character had advanced from the Defenders, Misty Knight.
Yes.
From being a cop with two arms to a cop with one arm.
She did an excellent job, by the way.
Yeah, I will
and
say,
I actually
cheered.
Yeah, Simone.
I will say I
great.
appreciate the development of Luke Cage. I did, because it is a lot more polished, as you say.
Yeah,
it is
is.
definitely a lot. It's like I can see a lot of they knew all the mistake they made in the first one, so now we're going to fix all those, and now we're doing a whole lot better now. So
Upgrade.
I'll give it that. I'll definitely give it that. Iron Fist, not so much, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Well, Iron Fist, he seemed to work a lot better, like I was telling Arvell, and I've told you numerous conversations that we've had in the past, Amber. He seemed to really work better when Luke Cage is right there and sharing the scene with him, or some of the other characters, but mainly with Luke Cage. Luke Cage and Iron Fist win-win.
Yep, most definitely. I agree with that completely, because those are the kind of characters that kind of just need another presence in the room, because they don't work well by themselves, which is why I like the Defenders so much, honestly.
Yeah, Defenders was good.
I think so. Heroes for Hire. Excuse me. Just,
Indeed.
I'm just saying, I don't know if Arvell can talk about such things, but Heroes for Hire could have the thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could see the look on Arvell's face.
No, you can't.
Coconut. He said the safety word. The safety word is
Coconut.
No, I can say that, I even enjoyed the second season of Iron Fist better. But I really got excited near the end. They waited right till the freaking end of the series, and then all of a sudden everybody got their powers enhanced, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I couldn't wait to see the next episode.
Yeah.
And boop, 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 boop.
And then, we're canceling it.
You're
What?
right.
It was just starting to get good. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're right.
You don't get renewed for a second season, and then, we're pulling the rug out. Wait, what?
Yeah.
That surprised me, honestly.
Yeah, it surprised me as well.
Weakest of all
Plot
the Defenders.
was just not all that great, and he worked well with Luke Cage or in the Defenders series.
Yeah, he's a character I think that works better when there's other characters around him, personally. That's
Nothing.
I can watch it as a standalone.
Yeah. Nothing against the actor himself, but it was the plot line, the pacing. It was like, okay, quit the whining. You're the living weapon, not the living wimp.
It really dragged. It
He
so
just
dragged.
kept whining.
How long are we going to complain about our problems? 3 episodes in, but yeah.
I'm Iron Fist.
Yeah, I remember being a little turned off by that. Not even a lot, but yeah. So I got a question that may not have already been asked, but I'm
Here we go.
I'm trying to be original. Can I drop the bomb?
Go ahead, drop.
Okay, what is your opinion on the death of Stan Lee?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're still grieving. Actually.
I think
that
we
kind
are.
of punched a hole in my heart when I heard about it. It's like, wow.
Well, and I actually got a chance to get to know Stan a little bit, when I was at Marvel.
Yeah.
And he was always energetic, always positive, just a good guy. But, near the end, in a way, he was suffering some. Everybody, all his handlers and everybody was kind of pushing him a little bit. And his fans, he wanted to please his fans as well. Yeah. But, I could see a few years ago how he was starting to lose weight and, he was looking a little drained. Oh, wow. But he always, as a, knowing who he was and everything, he always put the best face forward, even when he wasn't feeling that well. Yeah, exactly. So, I feel bad that he's gone, end of an era, but he's reunited with Jack, and they're doing fantastically new stories right now. That we'll somehow find out about somewhere, or it gives us something to look forward to later.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it was such a huge tragedy. I think. I mean, I kind of saw it coming.
You did?
I mean, I did. I mean, it's just a thing. I don't know. Maybe just because he was getting old in age and everything, and I don't know. It's a thing. I just had a feeling, especially because people are gonna kill me when I say this.
No, I'm going to stop them.
I told you I went to C2E2 Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And I basically had tickets to take pictures with Stanley, and I chickened out because I was just so starstruck and terrified.
I was wondering if you was going to bring that up.
I might as well. I mean, I hate myself for it because I really just chickened out. I chickened out so hard.
I was shocked that you didn't.
I couldn't do it. I chickened out. I was so scared, and it's like I regret it now, especially because he's passing. Well, he passed, and wow, it's like I really felt like the end of my childhood when he passed. Like one of the mile markers that truly marked the end of my childhood. Wow. It did. Like no more cameos. You just know the Avengers 4 movie is gonna have his final cameo, and at the end of the credits is gonna say "in loving memory," and it's gonna be like really bad. Just you can't see my face and my hand gestures, but like yeah, there are gonna be tears. Tears are gonna be shed, and it's gonna be bad.
You know what? That was one of the things I look forward to in seeing the movies. Is knowing that what part Stan Lee is gonna appear in,
Right.
Yeah, this is like the Easter egg that you're always looking for. Where is Stanley? Where is Stanley? Where's Waldo? But it's where's Stanley?
Tony Stank.
Okay, next question. So we know that Stan Lee is known for doing all the cameos.
Right. Yeah.
Who do we think is going to be the next person to do all the cameos? Someone has to take the mantle.
Arvell Jones.
Well, I don't know about that, but what I think would be kind of cool is they're introducing a lot of new characters, and Stan didn't create all of the characters, in the Marvel universe. So I think that maybe there'll be a rotating, like musical chairs. You never know who's going to show up.
I would love
okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that would be great.
A Hugh Jackman cameo.
Oh,
just a random character here and there.
You see, if Hugh does it, you're going to say, "Ooh, Wolverine." Not Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
I think I would much prefer seeing. If the creator of Captain Marvel showed up.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good deal.
Roy
Good deal.
Thomas. Roy the Boy Thomas.
It would introduce the fans to some of the writers and the creators.
Or
of
the creator of Misty Knight.
Well,
I can see him doing a cameo.
Yeah. Sorry, Arvell Jones.
Yeah, I'd probably get caught in the crossfire.
He said it. We didn't say that.
Oh, my God.
He gets caught in the crossfire. No,
That'd be my cameo.
No, I was joking with my boyfriend once.
Chalk outline.
I said I wanted to see Danny Glover.
Danny Glover.
Like Lethal Weapon Danny Glover.
Yeah.
Like you see him in the middle of a Marvel movie that says, I ain't got time for this. I just want him to say it.
Yeah.
It'll be funny.
That'd be kind of fun too, But I think the other creators, could get a little bit of fun in the sunlight,
Yeah. I can see that.
So that it's like Jim Starlin and because of Thanos and
that would be cool.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Of course, my era of creators, all the people that I kind of bowed down to were starting to go. So, better catch them quick.
Oh my!
Yeah. There, we all getting old.
Harder. Oh my goodness. Speaking of Captain Marvel, what do you think about the trailer, the movie trailer? Do you think it's going to be any good?
Promising.
Coconut.
Coconut. Okay. That means hard pass.
Yeah.
I like how we're actually using the word coconut. Coconut. Okay.
It's making me think of coconut cake. It's making me hungry. Actually.
Coconut cake.
Well, she picked the
Safety word is coconut.
Leave it to Amber to pick the word coconut.
Say coconut when we live in uncharted territory.
What I can say is that I like the idea of Captain Marvel.
Okay.
And I like the idea of a female superhero being one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe.
I am so glad you said that.
Okay.
You know,
that kind of
that's
bleeds
good.
into my next question. So the representation that's going on today in film, the black representation, the gay representation, the female representation,
Right.
do you feel like we're finally getting that? Like Hollywood's trying to get their feet wet a little bit more? Like how do you feel about the different movies that are coming out now?
Or do you feel like it's a way of them pandering to bring the audience in?
I'm sure that might be a logic that to pitch those type of characters to the producers, but really all along this world is not made up of just white guys, and why do white guys get all the fun anyway?
Yeah.
You know, the issue was that back in the 60s when a lot of these characters were created, the running thought was that, with black people and women, they don't buy comic books. So we're just pitching to our audience, And the characters were created to sell more books. And the audience at that point were white kids, white males, for the most part. And, they tried to, launch female characters, and and some of it worked. It sort of depends on if you're talking about the '60s, the female characters were like Night Nurse and Millie the Model and that kind of thing. Wonder Woman was a good play from the 40s, and then if you look at the '90s, all of a sudden all the characters had to be female characters had to be very much sex objects. So. And then as far as black characters were concerned, black people weren't buying comics as far as they were concerned. When the Milestone era came about, and, everybody tried to change that and change that perception, you also had a bit of racism going on because the retailers in the South weren't really carrying Milestone books.
I remember reading that, too.
Yeah.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, Dwayne McDuffie made that really clear.
Yeah, he did.
Hit me in the head over it. But
he said it in a couple interviews too, and I'm like, oh, he said it in the last interview. He's saying it again. Like, wow, okay.
Well, and so a couple of the characters are being retrofitted to be other than white characters. Instead of, I hear the complaints. Well, why don't you just create some new characters and everything? But the audience. And a lot of the audience coming to see these, the majority of the audience coming to see these characters and everything didn't read the comic books. Yeah. So now's a good time to make the change.
Exactly.
Why not, do it? And the few, characters that have been changed. Yeah. They're not the significant characters, for the most part.
Domino is a prime example of that. I like what they did with that character.
Yeah, we had a dialogue, me and Amber, we were going back and forth about that too. And in typical Amber fashion, she said, okay, Roderick, just wait till the movie comes out, when Deadpool, when we found out that the character had changed, and I felt drastically, and I said, well, not too much, but it was still good. It worked. And good actor, too.
It's
good
like
actress.
To give the actors a little bit of a chance before you assume the worst.
Yeah. Pass judgment. Yeah.
Right. And the other thing you got to consider, you got a new audience.
Yeah.
They're spending multiple millions of dollars to do these things. Can you really blame the producers for wanting to please the investors that put the money up to make these visions happen?
Honestly, you can't blame them. I mean,
you really can't blame
Hollywood
them.
is a business overall. I would say it's like they need to bring in their money, and we have to cater to a certain audience. And if we're not bringing in the money, and then
the attitudes of today are changing as well. So, now's a good time to experiment. Now, of course, a few people will be, bothered by the fact that their particular characters change gender or change race, but then why should that really matter if the character's essence is still being portrayed?
That's exactly what I said. That's exactly
That's a good point.
what I said. See, this brings up that other issue. Remember Starfire?
Yeah.
Prime example, Starfire of Teen Titans.
Teen Titans.
Originally,
What happened?
she's originally, well, I couldn't even say she's a white female, but I guess in retrospect she would be white, but technically her skin is orange.
Yeah,
right, she
orange.
was an alien.
Right, she was alien, but when they revealed who Starfire was, she basically looked. I'm just gonna say it.
Put it out there.
They
Go ahead
said
and
she
say
basically looked like a black prostitute.
Egad.
My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, but the primary thing, people were mostly upset because Starfire was black. But my thing is, Starfire is technically an alien anyway, so what difference does it make if she is black?
Yeah.
So
Good point.
And she has orange skin, so.
Her eyes turn orange when she powers up, though.
Yeah, so my issue was never about her being black. Her being black was never the issue. My issue was just, could she pull off the character herself? It looked nothing like the Starfire I envisioned, who was kind of ditzy.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest gripes with it. So it never should be about race. It never should be about gender. It's like, can you put off the essence of the character itself?
You're absolutely right. That's a good point. And when I saw her for the first time in the first episode, the actress that they have portraying the character, she pulls it off very good. I forgot all about the so-called controversy of her being African American, and it all falls back what you just said, Arvell. And you too, Amber. It's about the way the essence of the character is portrayed. As long as the essence is not diminished in any
don't tarnish
way.
the character itself. I think you're okay.
Yeah.
But yes, that woman, that poor girl, she got so much hate for that.
Yeah.
So much hate. And they were so tight-lipped about it. Coconut. They were so tight-lipped about the whole thing that they just kind of took it. They took all that hate. They took it all, and then they finally dropped it. And it's like, oh, well, now it's got a 90% of not Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So
And
it's doing
I
really
think
well.
I contributed to it.
So yeah.
Well, if you go with conventional wisdom, especially during the comic book era, when Black Panther was introduced into his own book back in the 70s, Jungle Action, with Killmonger, with Don McGregor and Rich Buckler doing the creative chores. They treated the book like it was a third-class book, and they were, almost immediately they were talking about canceling it. If they had canceled it early on, like right away, there would never have been a Black Panther movie later on. So, it's not so much about those attitudes. You got to look at the long term, the long tail, so to speak, results of what could happen. So, sure, there's characters that, would make you scratch your head, like, when they decide to do Hemdale as a black man, but as an Asgardian. But why couldn't there be black Asgardians outside of the gods themselves?
It's a fictional place. Why couldn't it be?
True.
Right.
It's like you're basing your logic in the world of fiction.
Great.
So you can't base real world logic in fiction.
They were Norse gods. Well, they weren't really Norse gods even in the movie. They were just another brand of alien.
Yeah, I think it's like loosely based on Norse mythology anyway. So it's like, and plus it's fictional. You can't base real world logic in a fictional environment.
That's the key word, fictional.
Right. And because of that, if you wanted to even follow the logic that these characters were real or whatever, if their inspiration was, that they saw somebody with humongous strength, with a hammer, slamming things down and doing whatever, and they went and described him or whatever, at that point, okay, so, he's a white guy or he's whatever race, that particular character is, but it's not ruling out that everybody was like that, so, it's not ruling it out. So why not? Why not? And descriptions get twisted all the time as well.
Yeah, that is true.
If you were to look at it like the real world, and the people that were worshiping these gods were seeing them for the first time, there might even be some less magical explanations that were if those characters really did exist, you know. And by the time everybody starts to relate to those characters and it circulates, you know, I mean, Thor could have been, you know, a middle-aged white guy that had a big hammer and managed to smash a small rock, and then later it got blew out of proportion and fictionalized and, you know, lied about and everything. Man, the boulder was 7 times as tall. No, it was 20 times as tall.
I love conversations like that. But no, I definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So why not?
So why do you think Black Panther worked so well, the movie itself? Do you think it was time for a movie of that magnitude to be made?
Personally, I think it was just Black people coming together. It's like, finally we have some decent representation. I think that's, honestly, I think personally that's where the biggest, you know, follow-up came from.
Yeah, you had an underserved market that was clamoring for something.
Yeah.
We finally had something.
You know, and I remember when the Fantastic Four featuring the Black Panther first came out.
Yeah, I'm still looking for
60s.
that. Here.
I'm an old guy. You know?
I'm still looking for that issue too, by the way.
Man, I had about 3 or 4 copies of it because the bullies kept taking it from me, and I kept going back and getting another one, and then finally the bullies were like,
Wow.
You got the next issue? And I said, look, the only way y'all gonna even see the next issue from me if y'all treat me better. So Black Panther saved my life, you know. They said, okay, man, we'll stay off. You one of the boys now, man, because you supplying the comic book.
Wow.
You know, so.
I think Black Panther for us was basically, it reminded me of like the 2008 presidential election. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of, honestly. Like, you got Barack Obama, like, oh, the first black president. Okay, then I'll never forget the lines that I saw. But then with Black Panther, it's like you're breaking box office records.
Right.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. So I think that's what it did for us. Mind you, I still have some quirks about Black Panther.
Yes, I know.
But, you know, yeah, well, I'm nitpicky about a lot of movies. I am. It's like,
yes, I know that too.
So you're a universal, you know, critic. You know, you didn't just turn off your sensibilities.
Right. If stuff doesn't make sense, I'm going to tell you it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I don't like the fact that, what was that metal they called it? The adamantium? Not adamantium. The
Vibranium.
Vibranium.
Yeah.
I like how the vibranium is basically conveniently used whenever they need it to be used. Somehow vibranium can cure a spinal column. Somehow vibranium can use this. It's like there's no rules set in place for the use of vibranium. It's like whatever we need the vibranium to do, the vibranium can do it. That's what it can do. It can do it. I never understood that.
Well, they were the most technologically advanced civilization on Earth.
Yeah.
And they've had thousands of years to perfect.
I'm just saying. According to the movie, it just seems like, oh, well, we have vibranium. Vibranium can do this. Vibranium can do that. Now we get vibranium to do this. Vibranium can cure cancer. Vibranium can cure a heart attack. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. In certain worlds, I think like magical objects and magical beings should just have rules within their universe. And vibranium is just, I don't know. That was one of my little nitpicks about it.
Yeah, you know, maybe they just didn't explain to you what they mixed vibranium with and
I'm
what
the
other
kind of person that needs that kind of explanation.
added, you know, what kind of other, you know, things they sprinkled in. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of vibranium, a little bit of
that,
some garlic,
vibranium,
you know,
vibranium.
some bat blood, and you know.
Yeah, I was also one of those people like, yeah, there's Killmonger's not entirely wrong. He's psychotic, but he's not really wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked a lot of the political messages in there. Like, they were subtle, but well, not even subtle. It's like they were really like in your face.
Yeah.
But yeah, still nitpicky about it. Do I think it's the greatest movie ever? No. I said it. No. But
I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
I think it's one of the best movies that came out. Was it this year?
I worked on the posters, so it came out in February.
February the 13th, 14th.
I just
around
nitpicked
Valentine's Day.
this man's movie because he designed the poster. I don't feel bad.
No, that's okay. You know, I'll see you afterwards in the parking lot.
No regrets. No regrets.
So, any projects you working on right now?
Oh,
that
my
you can
goodness,
talk about?
I wish I could. You know, I'm like
Coconut.
2 weeks away from being able to make an announcement.
Coconut.
That's crazy.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess I should
2
say
weeks?
coconut.
There's two
Maybe
coconuts
3
in there.
weeks. Coconut,
Two coconuts.
coconut. But I'll say this much. I'm working on a couple of projects. I've made some changes, and and I'm looking for it to come out. So I'll leave it right there.
Yep. Because any further will be coconut.
Oh.
Any further will be coconut.
I got one more question to ask you. Are we going to see it on the large screen or
Coconut?
Small?
Coconut.
Oh.
He told you can't go any further. Coconut.
Okay. I had to push the issue just a little bit further.
What sound does a coconut make when you hit somebody with it?
Coconut. I like coconut.
Okay,
cream
so
pie.
I got a question. So, as an artist, what kind of hardships did you go through? As far as being an up-and-coming comic book creator, did you have any hardships? Did you get rejection? What exactly did you face?
We got rejections all the time. You know, part of being, of your growth cycle as an artist is to take criticism and receive it well.
Okay.
And
Ain't that the truth?
I think that I wanted to be a comic book artist, and I took my pages in front of professionals. I was annoying. I broke protocol. I did whatever to get these things in front of them. I heard all the lectures along the way, but the main thing I took out of that was what would make my work better.
Okay.
And I went from a point of John Romita Jr. telling me, when you learn how to draw, you'll be a really great comic book artist. to wow, I think you draw better than me now. So
That's sometimes all it takes. It's like somebody knocking you down gives you a little bit of power.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of what it is. So in terms of hardships, you had to get outside your comfort zone to really do what you had to do. So I had to move to New York and be in their face and show them my work and be an assistant and be told I wasn't good enough. I'm not good enough. I don't know if you ever be good enough. I had to listen to people like John Romita and Joe Orlando and Neil Adams and Jack Kirby tell me what they thought. And sometimes it was encouragement. Jack Kirby encouraged me. He could see where I was going, and he could, he told me that, what you're doing in terms of storytelling is working. He says, you got to work on your drawing or develop yourself in how you want to present your work, but you know how to tell a story. So I had that going in, I had Jack King Kirby told me I could tell a story. So nobody could tell me nothing about my storytelling at that point.
Because Kirby put the staple on it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters.
Yeah, well, I wanted to learn to be a good artist in terms of everything else. And John Romita and Neil, and, they all gave me ideas on how to deal with that. Rich Buckler and I became really good friends, and he would always just give it to me straight. Punch me in my nose, make me not able to breathe, have me crying out of both eyes and everything.
Rocky with this.
Yeah, Adrian. No, I was jacked up, but at the same time, I was like, more. You give me more. Hit me in the gut again, because I learned a lot more that then I got people who would look at my work and say, it's coming along. I like kind of what you're doing over here, and it's coming along. I said, I don't need to hear that, because that's not giving me anything to focus on.
It's not constructive criticism.
Yeah, right.
I need that good old harsh criticism that's going to tell me, okay, you need to do this, you need to X that out. Don't do this ever again.
Right.
No, criticism actually helps. Honestly, as an artist myself, I prefer, I don't want to say negative criticism, but constructive criticism. I don't want to hear it looks good. I want to hear like, okay, well, this is what you can do to make it better.
Yeah.
That's more empowering than, you can draw. That's really nice. That's really nice what you did there.
Well, and I've got stories that were really negative, for me and some of my friends, but it was, what do you want to do? Art is one of those disciplines that you got your vision in your head, and then there's skill. And skill and vision are really two separate tracks.
They're basically out of sync, actually.
Yeah.
What you see in your head doesn't always match what you put on paper.
Yeah. But, you know, you can either develop your skill to the point from what you see in your head you can put on paper, or you can interpret it. Okay. However, you know, and take that vision and turn it into something that works. And I'll leave it like that. Your style, your personal interpretation of what you see in your head, or what you see out of the world.
I struggle with that so much. It's like what I see in my head doesn't always match, but it's like I know exactly how I want it to look, but then sometimes it still doesn't match.
And sometimes that's good because, you know, I discovered things about myself because I was trying to look like somebody else instead of looking like me. Yeah. And so my development occurred just trying to get that skill level down and figure out what is my visual language.
So you went from basically, I don't want to say copying, but so like copying from the works of others to basically develop your own distinctive style. Is that what you're saying?
When I was a kid, I copied.
Okay.
To understand what was going on and why stuff worked.
Basically understand body language in human form.
Well, you know, that and actual drawings, you know. I love Jack Kirby, so I kind of want to draw like Jack Kirby. You know?
I still
who told you could tell a story.
Yeah, and I learned to tell a story that way. And then it was about trying to be more representational in terms of how my work would look. And from there, it turned into that became more of a research project because now I wanted to learn how the body really looked, and then how to interpret those lines into something that other people would see as a good representation. You know, because I'm looking at things in 3-dimensional, and I've got to abstract it into 2D using, for the most part, since I wanted to be in the comic book industry, I wanted to use a pen, you know, black and white line and put it down and still make it look like it, you know, that these people had life and had a 3-dimensional feel to them, you know. So a lot of that, I spent a lot of time concentrating on getting something that I like. But then again, the other areas that interest me became personal style and how to tell a story, how to capture emotion, you know, how to take somebody when they look at my work out of just looking at the pretty pictures and draw them into a story in which they would feel something, you know, try to pull that emotion out.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Okay, so the other question I had is maybe you can walk us maybe step by step of how the comic book process is done, like maybe give us a little idea.
Well, I could talk to you about how it was done when Stan was in the office and all of that, and then I could talk to you as it evolved. But
we're going Willy Wonka with this. How is the chocolate made? What is the secret formula?
It's an ugly process. Back when I first started, Marvel and DC both had different ways of doing books. DC, it would take them 6 months to put together a story from beginning to end. That was their timeline. In 6 months, it would be published. And Marvel was more like, oh my God, you know, hair's on fire, pants on fire, get it done, all the time.
No pressure.
And maybe you had a month. Sometimes you had less than a month. I remember drawing pages and the production manager saying, you got anything else for me? Or the editor saying, you got anything else for me? And we get it done. And he said, we just turned the book in last week and now it's on the stands. Because it was being penciled, inked, and lettered, and sometimes even written, you know, as the pages were being turned in.
Wow.
So you're sketching, someone's adding dialogue, someone's inking, someone's coloring. And oh, wow.
Yep, we passing pages off on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Assembly line is exactly what it was. And both companies kind of worked that way to a degree, but it was on such a hectic pace that, you know, there were no backsies. You know, I'd like to redraw that. You know, sometimes they let stuff go that you say, dang, I thought they were going to I just did that to hit the deadline, and then I want them to send it back to me so I can work on it some more. And they were like, nope. You got time for all that. This is what you gave us, and we're going to use.
That's such an artist quirk. Like, I hope they don't see it. Oh, God, I mean, just stay perfectly still. Their vision is based on movement.
But it all starts with, coming up with the characters and who the characters are about and how you want to interpret these characters. And then, at Marvel back then, you would have a conversation with your writer, and then your writer would either hand you a script or hand you what was called a plot, which is pretty much, from page 1 to 3, there's fighting, from page 4 to 6, there's arguing. From 6 to 8, there's lovemaking and
That's
regret.
Wow. 6 to 8 pages of lovemaking.
And then you got, someplace in there we're going to introduce a villain, for 4 pages,
After
and we're going to end it. We're going to end it with another fight and a cliffhanger, and the hero's laying on the ground bleeding, about to die. That's how issue 1's going to finish off.
This
Get
is
the
a dark
drawing.
issue. What issue is this where fight, love making, fight, introduce villain, fight, dead.
Introduce new villain.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Sometimes they don't have an idea who the villain's going to be. So just do a fight, and then we'll figure out who he's fighting later.
Wow.
So I'm.
So how do
I'm
you draw
learning.
someone that's not there yet? Like, we don't know the villain yet, but okay.
Well, the first issue I did of Marvel Premiere with Iron Fist was like that. Tony Isabella said, I know I owe you some pages. Tell you what, take 5 pages and have some guys fighting. Make them look like Indian guys. Put towels on their heads. And then have Iron Fist beat them to the point where they all run away. And by the time you get those 3 or 4 or 5 pages done, I'll have figured out the rest of the story.
Wow.
This sounds pretty hectic. This sounds crazy.
Wow.
So
I can just
then,
imagine the environment.
I'm only supposed to be drawing, but I'm actually helping to write this book, but it was okay. It was fun. I got to stage my own fights. I got to, kind of decide why they did what they did, or, introduce a weapon that, man, I just came back from a kung fu movie. I'm going to use triple irons. You can tell me not to.
You just said fight scene.
Yeah, you just said fight. So I make
how.
it interesting, or whatever.
You didn't give me any rules.
So no, it was sort of freewheeling.
Yeah.
And so, I'd watch my contemporaries back then. We might take a page where it could have been 5 panels, but we would make it 20 panels. For a while, there was a contest between George Perez, Rich Buckler, Jim Starlin, myself, and a couple other people. How many panels can you fit on a page? And we do all kind of crazy stuff. I got 25 pages. I got 25 panels. And then the next person would do, I got 30. So how do you get 30 panels on a page?
What sorcery is this?
So, that would be, the artist having fun with whatever the writer wanted. As long as we accomplish the goal, we can do it how we wanted to do it. So
it sounds exciting, but also hectic.
And then DC would do the other side. They would do a script. It would say, page 1, panel 1, page 2, up 5 panels or 6 panels, or page 3, and they describe the whole scene. We're looking at a down shot of, but sometimes writers aren't artists, and so they kind of lose perspective on what can be done and can't be done. I remember getting this script from a famous writer. He became a famous writer, but he was a good editor and a good writer. But when I'm following the script, the first time I worked from a script, I'm scratching my head because I said, you want me to draw Aquaman standing at the foot of the Statue of Liberty, concentrating telepathically to get octopi and squids, giant octopi and squids and whales, to build a wall that would become a dam to stop a tsunami from destroying New York City.
You've been talking about
Panel 1. So wait a minute, how am I going to get that that, even if I could do all of that in one panel, how do I get Aquaman concentrating so that the viewer can see that concentration?
I can just imagine it, like, I was trying to picture
whales and New York City is in the background, and he's standing at the base of the Empire's at the end, the base of the Statue of Liberty. So I had to break that up, and say, well, this script right here, I call the editor and say, I can't draw this. It's too hard. And the editor said, look, you're the artist. Figure it out. If you need more panels, make more panels. You'll just have to make it up later. So, change the pacing.
Do it or else.
Yeah.
So you literally had to draw Aquaman telepathically ordering him to occupy to build a wall to protect New York City at the base of the Statue of Liberty.
Yes.
Wow.
I did that.
That's a whole mouthful. But that sounds insane.
Yes, it does.
Make it so. Like artists are wizards or something. Just make it happen. Expelliarmus.
It's coming out of your brain. What, you need reference? Go and find it.
I don't know where I'm going to find a reference of a wall of fish. Telepath. What reference? Okay. That sounds a little nuts.
But those are the challenges. A comic book artist's job is to draw whatever the writer, asks you to draw.
It sounds like a challenge, but a fun challenge at the same time.
It does.
Yeah.
It's like, challenge accepted, draw a wall of fish protecting New York City. And Aquaman is controlling them telepathically at the base of the Statue of Liberty.
Wow.
Yeah, I did that.
I want to see how this picture turned out. I want to see how this actually turned out. If we ever see each other again, I want to see these panels of a wall of octopi and Aquaman controlling.
It was really rather simple once I broke it down a little bit more.
I believe we will see each other again.
I just want to see this wall of fish.
It's not a wall of fish. It's a wall of whales, octopi, and squids. Giant. And they're grabbing stuff out of the bottom of the ocean to build.
Wow.
Oh, context change.
Like
I'm
algae
actually imagining.
and rocks and.
What he asked for and what I drew, I had to make it make sense and not do all these little tiny fish.
I'm thinking a wall full of fish put together somehow to make a wall.
And octopi and and they're going around. No, giant octopus. Like 20,000 leaves.
They formed the base. Yeah. Right there.
No, they were actually building stuff. They were like, okay. Tweet.
Like Noah's Ark style.
Bring that half a ship in, and we're going to use that as part of the wall. What else we got down there?
So we're going to Noah's Ark with this.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was literally imagining like a wall made of fish.
I was too, for some reason. I was too.
The way they made it sound like a wall of fish.
They're using algae as their glue.
But no, that's actually clever. Like, no, grab the Titanic and you sit it right here.
Right. Whatever it was that was laying at the bottom of the sea. God, go get some submarines.
Yeah, that
weren't. I ain't doing anything right now.
So in the midst of it all, they had to fight Black Manta too, right?
Well, Black Manta actually wasn't in that particular issue.
Okay.
It was a group called the Weather Pirates.
Wow.
And I don't know if the Weather Pirates existed before I had to draw them, because I said, what do they look like? He said, they look like pirates, and they're in pirate ships that fly in the air.
Makes sense to
me. Okay.
Seems legit.
And they go, hey, and arr all the time. Yeah. There was one that did kind of look a little bit more like Captain Hook.
Yes. Dustin Hoffman, Captain Hook.
Yeah, more like that, I think is what I did. Yeah.
That was a good movie, by the way.
Okay, so one other question I wanted to ask you. What advice would you give to aspiring comic book artists that one day hope to be in your shoes? What classes should they take, or should they take any classes at all? Should they say screw college and just move on?
Well, I went to college, and I found it helpful. Of course, some people I know didn't go to college, and maybe even a little more successful than me, because I became a little more academic about how I did things. But I think the biggest thing to do is to try to experiment and try and get as much knowledge as you can. Okay. I took the route of everybody is either my model every human being on the face of the earth was either somebody I can use as a model, or I can use them as inspiration, or I could go up to them and ask them questions that would help reveal the secrets of being able to draw a comic book. Cool. And, I spent a lot of time in museums looking at how people were, were expressing themselves through visual, media. I looked at a lot of movies. I asked a lot of questions of professionals already in the business, to try and feel my way into what was going to work for me, and to help me execute my visual style. My philosophy was I got to learn to draw anything and everything so I don't avoid drawing anything. If somebody comes up to me, oh man, I have trouble drawing feet. Well, guess what? I'm taking a sketchbook and I'm drawing 100 feet from all different angles and ages and whatever. If I got to tell you, take that foot off right now, take that shoe off right now. Come on, let's do this thing. Now I'd explain myself, But
thank you, Arvell Jones, for coming on Cool Nerds Unite podcast. We at Cool Nerds Unite podcast would like to thank you, the listener. Thank you so much for your continued support. If you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to email us at coolnerdsunite@gmail.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Listen to us on SoundCloud and iTunes. And remember, stay nerdy.